character
Yeah.
of Mr. Fang is just once the elements start coming together, it's just such this mental transformation that is just so fun because then I can just totally be this larger than life character and have so much fun with it.
I open up Facebook and that's what I see is your band won best live band of the year on VEER.
Yeah. Of all the awards that we could have won, I think that one was the one that I wanted the most. We were nominated for a couple, but I mean, best retro band or best recording or whatever, that's fine. But being the best like live band to go see
Yeah,
is definitely
yeah.
cool.
That I mean that's quite a privilege to hold, especially when there's as many live acts in Virginia Beach and Tidewater as there is.
Right.
New record coming out that you're going to be promoting. We're looking forward to.
Yeah, we have another EP that it originally was going to be a 4-song EP that we actually wanted done.
Mm-hmm.
If everything went according to plan, it was actually supposed to be done now. However, we were kind of a little, I don't want to, too excited is the appropriate phrase for it, but everything was going really well, and the recording engineer that we're working this time was like really into it, so we kind of came to an agreement and actually going to add 2 more songs to it.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take a little bit longer, of course, to get out, but at the same time, having more music out can't be too bad of a thing.
Just I writing original stuff. Is it just flying out of you?
Yeah, with this one, I mean, it's all new, mostly new stuff that, like the original EP was songs that we had written for a while since the band started, and we're just kind of playing them in the regular rotation. But this one has mostly new stuff that was very kind of recently written in some degree, and others are definitely like very new songs that were added to the repertoire just as soon as just several months ago.
Man, that's killer. I'm looking forward to hearing that stuff. And I know you're a multi-instrumentalist, same as myself. So did you play multiple instruments on the record, or did you just let everybody do their parts and you do, just sing and play guitar?
On this one, we did more of a live setting, so we went in
Cool.
and, in short to answer your question, everybody did their own parts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, how we did it was we went in and did kind of a live setting to lay down a scratch track and kind of get a feel of where we wanted the metronome to sit comfortably with, try to get it as close to a live feel as we could without us just all standing in one room doing the same thing. So we all went in there, had just some direct tracks to run directly, so we could also set down the BPM for the metronome,
Mm-hmm.
and had a scratch reference to, and then went back and did the individual layers of each instrument.
Oh, killer, man. Like, I'm excited to hear that because I haven't really got to really study the nuances of what your bass player and your drummer do together. I know when I was there before I came over to Germany, we got to have a few jams, and that was pretty cool. I never really got to meet the rhythm section. I know that you've been hardcore going into the Reverend guitars. What really got you into those, man?
Yeah, I played Reverend for a while. Part of that was being around him so much, and with you know with my day job and all the guys there super into him. The main guitar that has been kind of my go-to for the past couple of years has been that custom one that I had built for me through Blast Colt, the big red sparkle hollow body.
Yeah.
But
Blast Cold. I forgot. That's the one that you've been playing lately.
Yeah, so that was the custom one because the big white upright bass that of course you're familiar with was made by Jason from Blast Colt, and then of course my King bass, which I've had forever since you and I met back when I was a teenager. That was of course made by Jason as well before he became Blast Colt. But yeah, I played Reverence for a long, long time, and those, I would say Reverend is really cool in the sense that they kind of really balance this line between you mass production and boutique.
Man, yeah, I forgot that when I very first met you, you was a younger lad. You partied hardy, and I
I
had to
will.
get you home safe one time. That was a party. Um, you took over bass duties for me when I left for Texas, and you were playing with David, and I never got to hear many of the if there was any really cool stories that came from that period.
Yeah, I mean, David, I played with David for 6 years after you left from
Mm-hmm.
2012 to 2018, right when he passed. Because I think was it 2013 that you came back briefly
Yeah, I came back for
and
a
played?
little while and then went out again.
Hmm. Um, I mean, I remember whenever I got that call when I guess you had made like the final departure because David called me and was like, "Hey, I guess he just kept booking stuff." Um,
Yeah.
what? So he called me and was just like, "Hey, we got a gig in like a week. Do you want to play?" And I was like, "Okay, I have to learn, God, what was it like 60 or 70 songs or if not just try my
Yeah.
best to follow along with whatever I couldn't learn in the meantime."
You had to take over the Beach Street gigs.
Yes, Beach Street.
For anybody who's watching or listening who's not familiar with that is, what it is the city of Virginia Beach pays musicians to play along the boardwalk to entertain the tourists, but you play for about 4 hour blocks at a time, and it's always at least 100 degrees. That's the really important part. And every now and again, if it rains, you don't have to play. But I think Beach Street, honestly, is what gave me the chops because it was just playing the set the same way every time. And once you had it down, you were able to experiment around inside of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say I would agree, especially when it came to my upright bass playing and upright bass
Yeah.
chops. It was
Yeah.
once the set, because I mean, especially knowing David, David very rarely ever changed his set.
Yeah.
It'd been the same set for God, what, 20 years? Because Two Tone Cadillac started in what, like 03, 04 is when you guys put that together.
Yeah, when him and I very first put that together, he was, in bands like Western Waste and stuff before that. When we very first started jamming, I had a half scale upright bass with no pickup and steel strings, and I gave it the old college try, and eventually I just played his electric Gretsch bass for a little while, and then moved to the full upright.
Yeah, we did that for a little bit too, where I bought a Gretsch, one of those like super extended long scale hollow body Gretsch basses, and
Yeah.
I went back and forth. I think David really liked almost a kind of the quasi like punk surf feel that playing a bass guitar gave. So I know he pushed that for a little bit.
Yeah, I know he was, always into Agent Orange and, all the punk bands as well as the Blasters and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So you were playing with him, and then did you have your own thing going at the same time, or did you just immediately start Fang after that ended?
So I guess in a way, I'd always experimented because I mean, whenever you and I met, I was playing in like my kind of late teenage, early 20s punk rock band
Yeah.
um, for a little bit, floating in and out. So, of course, and that was always original. And so, in short, always had kind of these elements of trying to write my own songs one way or another. And then throughout Two Tone Cadillac, that definitely took a little bit of a dive because I focused so much on that for so long. And then it started to peak up again. And my first attempt really at starting my own original band, it wasn't called Mr. Fang in the Dark Tones. It was actually kind of this more straightforward, almost stereotypical kind of rockabilly, surf rock, honky tonk kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And because we got a gig offer that someone offered Two Tone Cadillac a gig, but of course they didn't want to pay us. So David was like, no. And but I had like 4 or 5 original songs, and they only wanted like the opener to play like a 15-20 minute slot anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of jumped on it just as a chance to get out and just play some stuff that I had written. And I said yes to the gig. I was like, well, hey, Two Tone Cadillac can't do it, but I have this my own little side original thing that'll fit the bill, because it was the Gutter Demons were touring and they wanted like a local rockabilly or psychobilly band to open for them. So I called up some friends. I was like, hey, I booked a gig in like a couple months. Do you guys want to help me out? And that was kind of really my first attempt at that. And then, so we played that show. It went over really well, and kind of got a feel of some of the idea of what I wanted to do originally, but that really just didn't have the infrastructure to kind of take off the way I wanted it to. And the guys that I was playing with, they were, I mean, they're super good friends of mine, but they also weren't in a position to commit to it in the same way that I wanted to. So that kind of just went, you got put on the back burner again. I joined a cover band for a couple years just to keep busy, keep steady, and make some extra money. And that was kind of a couple years too long. I very quickly realized that I am not a cover band top 40 musician.
Yeah.
And but in the meantime, I still kept writing, and more or less almost a similar story to what happened was I was getting bored of the cover band thing, but there of course wasn't really anybody doing any sort of genre of music of the stuff that I really enjoy or like.
Right.
So I
you gotta do it yourself.
Took the chance. Yeah.
You gotta do it yourself if no one else is doing it.
Yeah. And so yeah, I kind of took the chance. I called up a venue. I was like, hey, I actually called the same venue that we got that show with my first attempt at doing some original stuff. And I was like, hey, I don't know if you guys remember me, but I did this band and we kind of did this quasi rockabilly thing. I was like, I got a new version of that. But it also has like this weird, spooky, macabre, kind of Misfits kind of vibe to it. And they were just like, yeah, whatever. We just need someone to a spot again.
Right.
So I was like, cool. And basically did the same thing. I called some friends like, hey, I booked this gig. This is what I'm doing. And now here we are 4 years later, winning awards and going on tour and putting out music videos and, you know, the whole real rock and roll spiel.
Yeah, you did just put that music video out.
Yeah, we have the original music video for the self-titled song that came out when the original EP came out. And then over the past couple months, a local graphic artist has been working with us, and we put out an animated music video.
Oh, killer, man. I can't wait to see that. So I know part of the, part of the look of the band is the heavy makeup and stuff. Just curious because when I would read interviews with Tim Curry, and he was talking about Rocky Horror, he'd be putting the makeup on and he could literally feel himself begin to physically transform and mentally transform into Frankenfurter. Does the same thing happen for you?
1,000%. The character of Mr. Fang is just, once the elements start coming together, it's just such this mental transformation that is just so fun, because then I can just totally be this larger than life character and have so much fun with it. Mm-hmm. That it really comes. And whenever you start to see the face come together, whenever I'm putting it on, really does help, as you put it with Tim Curry, of really helping you get into that mindset.
Yeah, and then as your fingers start getting looser and warmer as the night goes, and I could see how that transformation could happen when you decided to do this band. But you're just like, I love horror movies, I love horror music.
Because we definitely in the Hampton Roads area. I mean, obviously, you look forever. There's kind of this like weird metalcore black metal scene that definitely kind of almost engulfs a lot of the quote unquote underground music here. So there's definitely this element of like all these kind of guys and kids and everything that are kind of into this spooky thing. But I was like, no one's doing this. This is what I really loved. I mean, you've of course seen all like the artwork and stuff that I collect over the years. And it was just like, well, let's just have fun with it and instead of trying to kind of keep myself in this bubble of, doing like whenever I was really young, doing the punk rock band, and whenever I was slightly older, doing the rockabilly thing of just like, well, let's just throw everything in the kitchen sink together, mix it all up, have fun, come up with this kind of super crazy cartoonish version of myself, and really just throw tomatoes at the wall and see what sticks.
Do you write all of the parts from beginning to end, or do you and the band work things out and write songs together?
So I write the songs in the sense of like I get the idea, I more or less strum out the structure on a guitar, and then once I really kind of have more or less the basic structure of it, I'll come to him. And of course, it has to be one that I'm in love with and that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in short, I write the song, then I bring it to them. Now I let them write their own parts. I want them to have fun with it too. I don't want to just kind of like come and be like, you have to play this and you're going to do this way. And there's definitely some songs that have taken a really big evolution from everybody's input once they start contributing their ideas to it.
Mm-hmm.
But more or less, I have the song, the lyrics, the general structure of it, and then once they have it and we're really playing together is when it takes life and when all the real nuances start to form into what the song will be.
Yeah, everybody gets to actually. You have the changes is your roadmap, and then everybody gets to put their own bit of personality in there. As long as everyone's hitting the changes in time, that's really cool.
Right, exactly. As long as we're hitting the changes, hitting the stops, playing in the same key. Past that, it's some a good creative effort on their part of what they're going to play and how they're going to make it fit into the mix.
Did you find that during COVID you just had like a ton of time to write music too?
In some aspects, yes, we definitely did a lot of writing during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
but we did really stop during COVID. Obviously, there were a lot of venues that stopped, and we had to juggle around that as best we could. And we did get a short break, but we definitely also found this kind of handful of like these dingy metal bars and dingy punk rock clubs that would put on secret shows, so that they could still try to keep some sort of revenue coming in because insert whatever reason, I guess I don't know if they qualified for any like the COVID relief help that got released or not. But
Yeah.
so they did what they could, more or less, I guess, to stay in business. So to a certain level, we actually didn't stop playing, and
Mm-hmm.
actually throughout 2020 and 2021, we had a pretty strong collection of shows that I think really helped build up our more organic audience here in Virginia.
Well, obviously it was good enough to win you a live band of the year, so you must be doing something right.
Yeah, and I think I would not be surprised though, because since we kind of took the trope, unlike a lot of the bands in this area that I'm sure you're familiar with the people that you met over the years, I think a lot of people in the Hampton Roads specifically, since we're in this small little bubble of Virginia, kind of get too comfortable playing in the area because it's just
Mm-hmm.
so easy to play your home crowd, if you will. But we've been on two small tours in the past 2 years. And I think a lot of our support for that honestly came from a lot of our out of state support.
Yeah, the circle of bands that are willing to promote other bands when you come into their town. Some of the best people that I've ever met in my life are just people that ended up opening for me.
Yeah.
Or I ended up opening for.
Yeah. Some of the coolest people that we've met have been bands on the road. And likewise, I mean, like, especially our tour last year when we were doing our Northeast run, we just met just some of the absolute best musicians. I think a mutual friend that we now have was Joe Castro from Joe Castro and the Gravel Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to meet him because we opened up for him whenever we were doing a tour stop in Delaware. We were
Uh
at
huh.
Bar 13 in Delaware, and Horror Punk USA, the guys who handle the booking up there, they put together this whole show based around us making a tour stop there, and they had Joe Grava be the headlining act, and those guys just absolutely smoke as musicians, and we're just some of the nicest dudes on the planet.
During COVID, you said that you really didn't slow down with music, but since you couldn't play out really too much, did you pick up any new hobbies? Because man, how hard was it for the venues to actually stay alive when it came time to play again?
Yeah. Um, I guess in a way, yes, and in a way, no. I really just focus on playing more. So it definitely
Yeah, that's what I
reignited.
did. I just
Um,
woodshedded.
yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, to a certain degree, it was nice to have a certain break from certain things and to
Yeah.
reignite playing for fun. Like I started playing bass a lot more because once I started the Mr. Fang project and switched over to playing guitar,
Mm-hmm.
it pretty much was guitar 24/7. So it was nice to put that down a little bit when we did have some breaks here and there
Yeah.
and really fall in love with playing bass guitar and upright bass again.
We just ordered a new upright bass. It's a Thomann brand. It's a German bass, and it's going to be here in a few weeks. I had to leave my ES9 back in America, but an old student of mine named Joe bought it. He's a good dude, so I know that it's going to be in good hands.
That's awesome. And congratulations on the new bass.
Oh, thank you. It's I was not going to bring the one from America on a plane, and that was just that just wasn't gonna happen. So I
I
know
can
that
only imagine 20 pieces that it would show up in.
yeah, you get off, or even like you're supposed to like buy the seat next to you and prop it up. I can only imagine just how nightmarish that would be.
Oh yeah. No, I've not been in a position where I've had to fly with an instrument yet, but I am dreading the day of what I'm going to have to juggle carrying one of my giant hollow body guitars or a bass with me somewhere whenever that opportunity arises.
Sometimes if it's that far away, it's just best to ask somebody to maybe hook it up and see what you can do from there. Although, you want your
Yeah.
tone, you want your feel, and I mean, I totally get that. But I suppose that's why we ride around in vans, is because they've upright bases.
Oh man, and yeah, God, driving all the way, especially up through the Northeast with everywhere that we had to go. I mean, we had like after we had a rental van, and then we took one of our personal cars and had like this little convoy, and both of those packed with 5 people to make up our team of our little tour group. Even then, there was still just like absolutely no elbow room whatsoever in the car, just driving with everything we had to bring with us.
So, like, what age did you start playing? I know you said that punk rock was the first thing that you started on, and was it first bass or was it guitar? Or was it both together at the same time?
It was actually first base. And I started when I was 13, and I got my first bass guitar for like, I want to say like $90 off Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
I had like some birthday money that I had saved up over the years, just being a teenager, kind of bumming around. And I found one because at the time, that's when I lived in North Carolina. And yeah, I bought one for like $90 and I played that for like a year and a half or so. And then after that is whenever I got my first upright bass,
Oh yeah, and
the black one, King
the
bass.
bands you were playing in was just punk stuff.
More or less at the time. I mean, whenever you're like 14, your scope on the world is as
Yeah,
narrow as
yeah, yeah.
anything can be. So the only stuff I was listening to at the time was like Rancid, Stray Cats, The Clash, and like Green Day. And so that was like all I wanted to play. And then of course, like I said, I got the upright bass to try and kind of mimic the whole Stray Cat thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I really played bass pretty much exclusively until my early 20s. Whenever I had always kind of noodled around on some friends' guitars here and there, and eventually I saved up and got one of my own, like just a cheap electric guitar that I had. But then it wasn't until my early 20s that musically I felt that I hit kind of this brick wall because I was self-taught and I wasn't getting any better. and thankfully I had enough outside
Yeah,
perspective to be like,
yeah.
I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I originally signed up for bass lessons, but the person that I signed up with for, he is an upright bass teacher, but he also played guitar, and he actually started just making me practice guitar in essence to try and make my bass playing better, which it did,
Right.
but it also just unlocked this whole new world of being able to play.
Yeah, it's funny when people who are proficient at bass and then they also play lead guitar. How often do you find yourself literally playing bass lines when you're playing lead guitar when you're connecting things?
Um, a, a ton. I mean, almost
Yeah.
all the time. There's another guitar teacher that I was working with, actually recently, about 6 months ago, and he was actually talking about. He's like, a lot of times when you start to go into a lead, Jacob, you're still very much on the rhythm. You're not really breaking away from the rhythm a lot. So, not that I'm playing just rhythm root notes. I am playing lead notes and having phrases and accents and everything that go into what lead playing is. But he's like, you're still very, very much on the rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
following that very strongly.
Yeah, that's a hard habit to break out of, to get used to playing on the ands and giving it a little bit of space and stuff because we're so used to keeping it moving, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just almost the nonstop. Yeah, like how you just said, just keep it moving the whole time. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's necessary to take a breath and, like you
Yeah.
said, come in on a hard song.
It's like silence is an instrument and it can be utilized. Look at the smoke on the water
Absolutely.
lick. Half of it is silence.
For real.
So you said you got some cool gigs coming up, man. I know that this is probably a good time for you to go ahead and just plug those, but also get some websites out there and any other information that anybody needs to know.
Yeah, so I guess for anybody watching, if you're interested in checking out what I do, my band is Mr. Fang and the Dark Tones. We're kind of this horror punk, psychobilly, gothabilly band. Um, and we're on, of course, social media. We're on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Those are the three that are the most heavily updated, that have pretty much almost everything that we do on there. And we do have a website, mrfang.site.now, I believe is the website address. Sometimes that it's either .now.site or .site.now. Every now and then I get them mixed up.
It'll be in the description box underneath the video.
But yeah, I do have a website that we update, and has all of our upcoming shows and music videos and events. And then I have two shows coming up. Now, one of them I was actually told was is a private party, so it's not
Oh,
necessarily open
all right, all
public.
right.
But the first show of March is a private party just outside of Richmond, Virginia.
Not bad.
Um, but I think by invite only for the guy who's organizing the event.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
I think our second show in Virginia is the Hampton Roads Tattoo Festival,
Yeah.
which of course I know you are definitely familiar with, Skip. And
It's always a good time.
between even both, we've probably played 100 of those, both with TJ and David. um, and then yeah, so we're gonna be that'll be Sunday the 5th at 7 o'clock. We are the headlining musical act for the Hampton Roads Tattoo Festival.
Man, that's killer. I think that everyone that hasn't seen it yet, they definitely need to give it a shot because I watched your chops and man, y'all got it. Y'all are tight. You got some good stuff happening.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we always make sure. That's one good thing I really like about this band in particular. I mean, you know how it is with bands and getting band members to juggle, scheduling to try and make rehearsals happen. But this is one thing that we've all made sure that even if we don't have shows, if there's like a small break, like we took January off, but even then, we still made sure that we practice at least once a week.
Oh yeah, totally. I get that, man. I'm gonna be genning up some good stuff here in Germany pretty soon, and I suppose that if you get over this way, we're gonna have to definitely do some music together.
No, absolutely, man.
I might have a few contacts for you that we'll talk about once we get offline.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Well, thanks so much for being on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, of course, and it's been awesome seeing you again. I think it's been since the summer that you came back for a little bit that we've had a chance to reconnect. So it's nice to see you're doing well, and awesome to see that things are going good in Germany, and that you're going to be getting an upright bass again.
Yeah, I don't know about touring with it because, you know, my war injuries don't really allow me to do much of that too much these days. But I know that I'll be playing it around the house, probably playing on some records. Tamara is very much looking forward to it, being able to get her skills up to par on it, and I'm pretty sure she'll be wanting to play it out in town too. So, yeah, thanks for the congratulations. I'm looking forward to it showing up, and it should be any time
No,
now.
okay, man, no, that's cool.
Right on. All right, dude. Well, you take care of yourself.
You as well, Skip. Keep in touch, and hopefully everything goes well. And have a good rest of your night.
Yeah, man. I'll see you around.
Later, dude.
Later. All right. That'll be all for today. Remember, peace, love throughout the world, and don't forget to rock and roll.